Hello, Roll Mithril here once again, getting back to Mag Mammal 2, and it's time for the judge commentary on the first 3 stages of Tier 7. So, first up we had 34th place, Toby Joey's Biplane Bay. Snow and Pyro. Overall, kind of a meh level. The music is atrocious, and it destroyed my ears several times over, but the design itself is good, and the usage of the flipping X platforms is okay, though I do wish they were used a bit more. Okay, so those were from Mega Man 6. Overall, I think that's my main issue with the level. It just doesn't really do much. It sets itself up with the set of enemies and the flipping platforms and the water pumps, and while there are setups I really like the one with the water pump plus penguin plus 2X platforms at the end, I don't think the level really expands on them beyond a few interesting setups each. The fight with Toadman is pretty interesting though, and the water pumps caused a surprising amount of trouble for me. Overall an okay level. I wish it had done more though. Also, that M-Tank is so not worth it. Yeah, it really isn't. Joopy Hornet. This level looks really nice, but the design felt kinda bland. There aren't a lot of enemies, and most of the challenge comes from the spiky platforms and the geysers that try to push you into them. I did enjoy the extra challenge you gave Toadman, though. Angel. I didn't feel like this level was doing much in terms of progression at all. Every area feels kinda like the last one, and there are alternate routes which lead into dead ends on several screens, which confused me quite a bit. The aesthetic is nice, aside from the music that half of the time consists of nothing but a screeching tone. There are also some spikes that didn't work properly. I feel really bad because I got nothing I can really say about this level. It doesn't do much wrong, it doesn't really exceed at anything, it just kinda exists. Gariri. A pretty sweet level. I think the level did get boring from time to time, and certain sections are a bit lame, but it has an interesting concept, and the obstacle usage was well done. Ultimately, it was a fun experience. I also thought it was a bit disappointing that all I got from finding secret paths was basic items such as E-Tanks. And A-Spark. This level is fine, really. Has some issues, though. I do not see the point of any of your secret, hidden, or extra challenging off-the-beaten-path areas and rooms. This contest has a thing called Noble Nickels. You probably should have replaced each and every one of your hidden collectibles with one, because as it stands, no one in their right minds is going to attempt these areas, especially the harder ones. This is a total bummer, as there are some really good concepts outside of the main path. There's so little reward for these, though, for so much effort. Large health, E-Tanks, and weapon energy? This last one is downright stupid. You require special weapons to reach this weapon energy in the first place. This might be one of the few stages I've encountered where the lack of properly used collectibles actively hurts it. I do like some of these areas, though. The room with the E-Tank is very good. Pointless, but good. I can't really point out that much wrong about the stage, and you get some okay mileage out of the powered-up pump, even on the primary path. I don't get the use of planes either, considering they don't do a darn thing. Solid enough overall, not that fun, but your level is decent. That's actually kind of a good point that I hadn't really considered. I'm not really sure what the planes really bring to anything. I kind of feel like they should have done something. They should have been more of a gimmick than just kind of a background asset that just sits there. But overall, it was a decently constructed stage. But yeah, having Noble Nickels instead of just very not worth it prizes, I think would have made those side areas a lot more worthwhile. That M-Tank totally wasn't worth it. Next up, 33rd place, Wanyan's Blazeman. Snow and Pyro. Really nice level. It's simple but effective. It builds the whole level around crushers and conveyors, and it mixes stuff up and combines stuff, and it plays well. I really like the sections where the conveyors work against you in particular. The backwards conveyor plus crusher section is well made and fun, and the setup with the conveyor plus tackle fire right up above you is clever and difficult, but fair. I think the hot dog mini-bosses were a bit pointless though, and this is probably like the one level where I was disappointed to see that there wasn't a boss at the end, especially given the title. As it stands though, it's a kind of level I really appreciate. Simple but well designed. It's nothing flashy, there are no custom assets, but it's just pure fun, and it's fair and well made. Joopy Hornet. Didn't really care for this stage. The beginning parts were pretty much empty with very few enemies, and then the difficulty ramps up after the second checkpoint. It just doesn't feel consistent. The crushers are a bit glitchy with the conveyor belts. I went right through them a few times. Weird. Angel. A nice and rompy level that sticks to its simple theme and just rolls with it. The level is a fun but simple ride that doesn't do as much wrong as there is potential for improvement by thinking outside the box and beyond the level's basic premise. For what it is, it's a good stage, but I think by introducing a few more elements and using them to come up with new combinations of these elements, this stage could have been a lot more impressive. Gariri. It's an okay stage. Nothing sticks out in particular, and while I did enjoy it to some extent, it generally became boring pretty quickly. There's nothing else I can say about it, it's just there. And A-Spark. Boss corridor and no proper boss or climax aside, why name your level after a robot master if you aren't going to put one in? This was perfectly serviceable and felt very solid. Pretty good. You do know your stuff. You could have done a bit better, and your problem was more along the lines of what you didn't have rather than what you had, I think. The theming was generic, and so was the stage. You took the most generic factory gimmicks and threw in the fire-based enemies, and that was about it. But you put everything to good use, and combined the gimmicks very competently, if not always creatively. I think you not using the junk blocks in the level rather than only having them as decoration was a huge missed opportunity. Why introduce them if not to actually use them? That was a disappointment. Don't get me wrong though, this was a solid level and absolutely fine. Take it for what it is, competent and above average, which for a Mega Man level means it's still good. This stage I think was indeed pretty solid. It's the sort of thing, even though the junk blocks weren't used in the stage proper, just having them as that background set dressing I thought was kinda cool. Just seeing this machinery functioning in the background while you're going through the stage, I think that adds kind of a neat flavor to it. I appreciated that. But yeah, overall, this was a pretty nice stage, and just the crushers with conveyors. It sets up such a stressful kind of thing, even with just vanilla assets, so it's pretty cool that you can come up with something that good even using just vanilla assets. It's something, honestly, I wish I was better at with stage design. I honestly have a hard time really coming up with ideas without being able to design all the assets myself. It's kind of one reason I haven't really done anything, for example, with Mega Maker as of yet. And so we ended with 32nd place Muster Ion-svin's Gunpowder Cellar. Snore and Pyro. Good level overall, though I do have a few issues with it. I'm not really sure if just having an exclamation point sign was the best way to convey that rocks were going to fall at that spot, because it will catch you the first time you go through, and it kept catching me because I kept thinking that the signs were decoration in my head. It doesn't help that they just seem to come out of the ceiling, and there isn't really any logical hole or noticeable tube that they'd come through. Other than that, the level was pretty good, though I kinda wish the barrels were used a bit more, like have them contain enemies or something. Some parts of the level felt a bit cluttered at times, namely the part where you have to grab the key, but most of it's pretty good. I like the boss fight, and it's learnable and fair, though I do think that the damage that the match does to you is a bit much. Overall, a solid level. Also, I saw that small Isaac. Jupy Hornet. You nailed down the abandoned basement vibe pretty well, but this level was kinda lacking in terms of design. The bottom area was really cramped, same with the vertical section. It wasn't really clear that the key was inside a barrel, which confused me and made me backtrack when I didn't need to. The boss was unfair because it was nearly impossible to telegraph its attacks, and its weakness, Grab Buster, is a very slow weapon that usually fails to hit the boss in time because of its many periods of invincibility. Overall, this level has some potential, but it just kinda missed the mark. Angel. I feel like this level got a bit carried away with its cellar theme there. The way this level is laid out makes the enemy positions not at all comfortable to deal with, and the environment is overall claustrophobically cramped on many occasions. The matchstick boss is a neat idea considering the gunpowder theme, and I like its pattern, though the final attack is something that the player can't predict unless they know it's coming. Overall, I wish this level tried less to feel like a building, and got more creative with its layout to complement its enemy positions, and not its general aesthetic. Gariri. This level had potential to be good considering the fairly interesting idea for this stage, but there are so many issues that make it very mediocre. This stage fails at the basics of level design. Every section is filled with too many enemies and obstacles that are nearly impossible to avoid. The fact that you need to stop to recharge your buster to destroy the barrels just makes this level more frustrating. The boss also has inconsistent attacks, so in short, this is a stage that could have been good but ultimately ends up being a frustrating mess. And Ace Spark. This was fun enough, if not spectacular. I guess my primary issues are a few "this is irritating" moments. For example, this stage has an awful lot of areas where it isn't actually obvious where to go. So many areas look like they should scroll to the next screen, but don't. It's rather annoying to travel up somewhere without, say, a path, or even a reward for doing so. There are also quite a few areas where you could have benefited from, say, sticking in another nickel rather than bolts. It's a bit of a bummer to work to get somewhere, only for there to be almost nothing waiting for you. I appreciate the one you stuck in there, though. Final issue, this stage lets you spend the entire thing doing it buster only, up until the end, which suddenly requires weapon usage. Why? Especially since it's on the main route. Post-judging comment. This was a glitch and fixed post-judging. Huh. Ace Spark, if you're watching and feel like commenting, let me know what that was about. I'm honestly curious what you experienced that I didn't. That sounds kinda weird. There's one really major missed opportunity here, a lack of cartoon gunpowder line. This stage could have benefited with a gimmick somewhat like that, if only to boost this from just solid to great. Your new asset wasn't really pushed far enough to be memorable, but at least the stage was designed around the fact that they don't respawn, so kudos to that. I like most aspects of your Robot Master, yes, he's a Robot Master, except for the fact that he's randomly invincible whilst jumping. He doesn't look like he should be whilst doing that, and it's enough to throw the player off completely. That did kind of throw me. Yeah, the matchstick has a lot of invincibility time, anytime it's on fire, apparently, from the looks of it. But, yeah. Imagining trying to hit that with a grab buster, it does sound problematic. But this stage overall was kind of cool. The exploding barrels, it's a simple gimmick but effective, and the fact that they don't respawn, I think it could have been used for some interesting puzzles. I would have liked to have seen that pushed a little bit further, but what was there was pretty solid. I liked it. But that's where we're going to call it for now, so thank you very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying the series so far, and I shall see you again next time. Until then, fare thee well. I'm still waiting on my fries.